great. Thank you. Yourself?
Yes, very good, very good.
Wonderful.
So this is an interesting one. We met through you applying for jobs here in Australia, and I was so blown away with our meeting, and I was immediately attracted to your entrepreneurial spirit and your background in digital and data.
Thank
I
you.
was like, yeah, I was so desperate for you to come and work through us or with us because I recognized the talent. And luckily for somebody else, they've snapped you up beforehand, right?
Yeah. That
Next time,
opportunity is
Fang.
always down the road. Yeah.
That's right. 4 or 5 years from now, when you finish there, you can come to us. There's a couple of things that come to mind of why I wanted to make the time for you today. And this is a bit unusual. Normally, it's our own consultants or our customers, and you're neither of those things. But there's a few things that were on my mind, and I really mean this. I feel that we're lucky to have you back in country. And for those listening to this, Fan was born in China, educated here in Australia, and then went back to China and was an entrepreneur for 16 years and sold certainly one of his businesses to a big global consulting firm, and has now come back to Australia to make his home with his family. And we're the lucky recipients of his talents. So welcome back, Fang.
Thank you. I'm lucky to be back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think so. I think we're a lucky country. Although you did make one mistake and move to Melbourne.
We've got the best coffee here. You can't beat that.
Where were you based when you were in China last?
Shanghai mostly. Yeah.
Is the coffee better in Shanghai than?
Yes. Yes. That's one of the perks of being entrepreneur. I got to know about 80% of the startups in Shanghai that's doing coffee business. So I always get the best taste over there.
Well, then you have a discerning opinion as to whether the coffee's better in Melbourne or Shanghai. So we won't polarize an audience just too much yet. We'll leave it as they both do good coffee, probably better than Sydney. Um, on my mind, when we spoke, is you gave me this, that at one point your organization was handling 1/3 of the Chinese telecom data.
Yes, that's true.
So that's like 400 million people.
Yeah, plus or minus. Yeah.
What? What is that? Like that is
It's
unbelievable to me. Talk to me about that.
yeah. So one of the opportunities that we had was to working with the China telco.
Hmm.
And the clients will actually we stumbled upon this data and they just didn't know what to do with it. So we actually sat down with them to figure out how to get the data out with certainly protection to not knowing how to trace back to the client itself. But then really get the data out of the context. Sorry, just get the value out of data, and to serve the clients who are majority of them are automotive clients, so they want to see
Hmm.
who actually search the keywords that relate to the car model, specific configurations and features, and plus whether they went on to landing on those pages. And that was back in 2018 when we first started working on those data. And the amount of the value that come back from the data. Well, first, the amount of data that came back, but secondly, it was that the amount of insight that we can draw from there was massive.
Hmm.
So thanks to that, we actually built our data platform on top of this, around this, and our very precise NLP, so we just natural language processing module
Hmm.
to chunk those data down into 1 GB. So mind you
Hmm.
that we are getting actually 1 TB of data on daily basis, which
Hmm.
is the accessibility. So in terms of the how fresh the data is actually T+1.
Hmm.
So that means that the internet access that was there 2 days ago, that we
Hmm.
can actually process it today, and then process the amount of data was about 1 TB on daily basis, and then we have to process extracts to about 1 GB of data.
Hmm.
Then that was put on the data platform so that each model of the car brand can actually access through our platform to find out the customer journeys, target audience profiling, etc. Yeah.
So the business you built was an insights platform on top of 400 million customer records from a telco, and they were taking that data to then sell it back to the automotive manufacturers. Is that what the business was?
Yes, yes, that was right.
Yeah, and
So
you
we actually
sold it.
built
And
it.
can I say who you sold that to? Is that okay?
So I was the CTO of the company. So
Hmm.
we actually sold the assets to Deloitte.
Nice. Yeah, lucky Deloitte.
Yeah. So it's very at a certain point in time, our Australian colleague actually reached out to us wondering whether we can use the same technologies. Then I said, yeah, definitely. You know, if we can work with some local telco business here, but I don't know whether that's still going to be happening. There's different uh, different, I think, policies
Mm-hmm.
regarding to those how you can access data.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
just again coming back to that, we were actually living in a data-driven, data-led inside world that where
Mm-hmm.
nobody else was there. Like on the other hand, we actually went through some of the data which was useless, but you can pretty much figure out, you know, criminology, you know, that kind of path.
Mm-hmm.
There's potential there. But anyway, yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
another story.
So when you say that nobody was really else there in the data world that you were living in, what do you mean? What do you mean that no one else was living there in 2018, 2019?
Yeah, I think one of the key features that that we figured out ourselves was that that is really called big data. Like just the amount of data that I spoken about, and an amount of consistency that you can get. And lots of so it's in contrast to if you compare it to a survey data, which is inconsistent because the survey data is all the problems have been already pre-designed, all the questions are pre-designed. The answer you get out of that, and that was still, you know, the traditional way of how the brands reach out to the audience, right? It's just the amount of data that led from there was just powerful. Like it actually pushed one of the eventually we helped this one of the Japanese manufacturer to believe in data, like believe in data rather than saying, oh, data is useless to us. That's what they said to us the first time they met. Then they say, wow, this is really powerful. Then they sign on a really year-long contract with Deloitte to build a data center together.
Man, it's oops,
Yeah, I still have you there.
yeah, just a call coming through. Rookie error when you're recording these things, not to put these on, right? So I mean, there's so many questions I have around that. But I want to start off with this. What are the key things that you've learned from handling data of that volume? And I don't know how rich it is yet, but I'll come down. I'm hearing that it's quite rich data, but that volume of data, the scale of that. What are the key things you've learned from that you will take on into your career, Fan?
I think one thing is that we really have to look at data from a different perspective. I think back then we were actually saying there was a saying data is the new oil, but I like to draw to a new slogan myself is data is the new blood. It's the new blood for any kind of business that's going to be thriving in the next 5 to 10 years. It's just a different perspective that, you know, like if I would say that how many stages are there towards building a data led business, number one is definitely you need to own the data, whatever that your business is, whatever it's a traditional business, whether it's online, whether it's agency, you're being an agent or you're like professional service, you need to own the data. And secondly is you need to build your business around the data. And third is you need to draw your insight from the data. Without doing that, or if you have not been starting to do that, like we are talking about AIGC, you know, the generative AI today, 80% of your business is going to be replaced by those who can actually leverage the data using the AIs out there. So I don't know how whoever that's our audience going to listen to this, but I have the I feel the urgency I just
Mm-hmm.
don't know whether those businesses are feeling the same urgency or not.
Mm-hmm.
And in comparison to the amount of resource that can actually sit in your business to build that, so your business is capable of handling the challenge, is still a big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's just my view to that.
Mm-hmm. So the interesting, data is the new blood. The lessons for yourself that you will take forward is that any organization you work in, you want the organization to own the data.
Yeah.
And you want that so you can build the business around that data and then retrieve insights from the data. And if you're trying, therefore I'm extrapolating, if you're trying to build a business around somebody else's data, it's not unique. And 80% of the market, has the ability to build the business on your data if you don't own it. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Like if once you own the data, you can really think about how your business can work with others, how you can build the foundation, how you can build the bridge towards working with others. And I
Yeah.
know a couple of this company withhold a large amount of data in Australia is going to heading down that direction. So they're going to be the next Amazon, are going to be the next Alibaba here in Australia. And
Mhm.
then
So,
by then,
so did you say
yeah,
organizations are withholding their data at the moment? They are going to be the next
yes,
Alibabas.
yes, yeah. Or well, some of the business actually have access or to the data, to the amount of data that we've spoken about.
Hmm.
Yes, or those who has already start building towards that direction. Yes, and I can
Hmm.
see the amount of job out there that's asking for data governance. I mean, that's a good start.
Hmm.
But whether that position is under it's whether it sits within a data realm itself
Hmm.
within an organization, that's going to be a significant difference.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of points I want to talk about data governance. I want to talk about your own experiences on Australian organizations finding people with true talent in this area, and you're in that category, I think. But I'll come back to your first point about I don't think these were your exact words, so forgive me if I'm misquoting your intent,
Okay.
but you talked about give or take under investment, under leverage of human resources to take advantage of data, um, which makes me think about some sort of immaturity in this market. And I also want to give you credit. That's something we talked about when we first met. So, so talk to me a little bit about that underinvestment, under leverage, and immaturity versus what you've seen internationally being at really at the forefront of this. I think.
I think one critical issue that we talk about is the amount of errors. So a business has made
Hmm.
throughout the past. So I like to address this in a way that there's a slogan, right? People say that you can only build success came from experience,
Hmm.
right? But experience was made from failure. So
Hmm.
it kind of works in the way that the data has to. I mean, it's just a huge amount of investment for business to put down that road for trial and error.
Hmm.
And I can see that, coming back to what I was saying before about growing organically within an organization, you just really need to have someone who has a knowledge of technology, data, and business
Hmm.
in one position and just keep going, supporting that role,
Hmm.
like for consistently quite a bit of time.
Hmm.
Usually that takes about 3 phases, and some of the um, uh, one really another key to that is that a very strong support acknowledged coming from the senior managements. So they
Hmm.
have to support that. A lot of the roles that have been created weren't just temporarily. I can see them as a like contract or a short period of time just to try it out. I mean, it's not wrong, but clearly whoever that put those roles out there are not valuing the data enough. So someone
Hmm.
has to come from either the CEO or CIO or CTO even saying that, just have
Hmm.
someone sitting under my department is not going to be good enough for the future.
I feel like I want to replay what I've just heard from you, and then relate it back to the questions. You're saying that very senior executives in an organization, a CEO, let's say, or COO, CFO, whatever, needs to employ someone who understands technology, data, and business in that one person. So someone who's done that. And they need to do that is because success comes from experience and experience comes from failures, which means they need to think of it in a multi-phase. You said 3 phases, but a multi-phase approach. How long is a phase, just out of interest?
Usually takes about at least 1 year, but
1 year for
can
the
go
phase.
up to 3 years because that's also according to the most role. Yeah.
Yes, got
So
it.
the value of we talk about return on investment come back on the third stage, but a lot
Mhm,
of business look at this way, say, show me the money when they
mhm,
first come to data. Otherwise,
mhm,
I'm not gonna put down.
mhm,
Why should I? That's actually about 99% of the question come from the market industry back in China, is that the client will be saying, oh, why should I invest that much? Right? I can't even see the value of data.
mhm,
This can
mhm,
actually, it's not unusual and it's
mhm,
not wrong to say it like this. So that's why I said, quote, the support, consistent support from the senior management, from the board has
mhm,
to, they have to be precise and they have to be very clear about investing into data.
mhm, mhm,
So meaning like someone, so for example, we had a CDO, chief digital officer, who had a clear vision. We had
mhm,
also had a CSO who had a clear vision of
mhm,
how much data is important for the future corporate strategy. So they
mhm,
actually implement that into the corporate strategy,
mhm,
then
mhm,
alone set up a completely by itself data strategy, 3-year data strategy to
mhm,
follow. Yeah,
mhm, mhm, mhm. What organization was that for?
I was delighted.
Yeah, Deloitte, right, nice one. Okay, kudos to Deloitte then. Again, damn it, they're supposed to be a competitor. Well, not that they would see that of us, but anyway, you get the point. Um, you're making me think of if someone said to me, "Look at this before you get a return on investment in 3 years." Obviously, there's different strategies in terms of wealth creation or portfolio of investments, right? And I'm not sure I would be that comfortable if someone said, well, there's only long-term retained gains here, not short-term gains. I mean, that's why we work for salaries and whatnot. So I know I'm turning into wealth as well as data. So does that mean that whoever takes on this type of job, actually you as a person, you can't just rest your laurels on a 3-phase multi-year return on investment? There has to be tactical investment or value seen from data today, which is obviously the role that I think my company plays. And we're a rapid deployment technology company, right? Digital assets within very short periods of time. So, so what's your thinking there? How do you strike that balance of, not knee-jerk reaction to satisfy stakeholders, the COO or CEO in that case, versus the long range? Because I didn't hear you talk about the tactical short term, but you did talk about the long-term investment. So what do you do in those circumstances, Fan?
Yeah, I will say that. I did actually mention about how the person sitting in the role has to have the knowledge coming from business as well as technology, and that
Mm,
plays a really key a key role to um, speak and convey the messages to the board, to the stakeholders about the value in data. Once the first step approach they will take is to understand the current situation. So you always have to understand the current situation. What actually leads to what are the major pain points? What's
mhm,
the like? Most likely number one is to save money. So for
mhm,
example, like, okay, so we were spending about 3 million just for data investment, just to purchase the data. Can
mhm,
we cut costs
mhm,
towards building a longer, I mean, as a vision, towards your data vendors, you can always say, instead of me paying you 3 million today, can we actually, go onto an API protocol, for the next 3 years, well as we build a longer relationship from there. Can we work together on the concurrent data module just so that you can also benefit from it? There's just multiple ways, but the number one thing is the coming from the just stakeholders is to understand that although there are times that steps needs to be taken, but there are things that we can actually be doing right away. And number two will be you need to have a team, not just one person in the role, but a team to really help build out the environment within. And the size of investment is in contrast to have comparing to the risk of not having one. You can actually do the math for any business. Like you get, for example, like today, whether we should hire a external IT team or should we actually build it in-house, it's doable, right? Those numbers are actually transparent on the market. So just do the research and then really map that against your corporate strategy. Say you're gonna spend, like $1 million for the next year or two, just to purchase a third-party data warehouse or third-party consulting solution. Can you spend 20% of this, build a team? Like in your organization, usually 20/80. That's the portion that we're talking about, and just find a smaller vendor. So then from that onwards, you can really next step will be learning from the team, like just what's going on, how much can we save, should we do this in-house or not, like whether this is going to impact the business or not. So have a very clear business projection, like quantified all the metrics, quantified the measurements. It is very important down the road because data is tricky. Like unlike other business, traditional business, human resource, the time is limited, right? Amount of people equals FTEs equals the amount of people you have in the house, right? But data is not. It can be multiplied, it can be scaled up, it can be sized down.
Well, I think that comes all the way back to the aspects of data governance that you were talking about. Having the right leverage of the data. My mind got just caught up on something then in relation to the way you're talking. I wonder, because your skill set's so broad across technology, data, business, entrepreneurialism. You had some experiences going through the process. All of the things, all the jobs that you might apply for, let's go a fair amount that you might apply for when you go through a process, you've probably got relevant experience to. I wonder what your commentary is on. I wonder as you get more experience, even like you are, if it gets harder to be, to be seen for the depth of what you've done as opposed to the breadth. To be seen for the depth, and you're an unusual individual that you've got both the breadth and the depth. But I know that made it quite a tricky process for finding the right opportunity, which you've done now. I think we miss out on finding amazing people because of that. Actually, it pisses me off a little bit. It pisses me off that some of the best people I know, they're broad and deep, and maybe whoever's reviewing the resume finds that too hard to believe and then thinks that they don't have the time or the capacity or they shouldn't give someone the meeting. I don't know. I mean, it's something I've really struggled with. I mean, again, if anyone says yes to me, I'll meet them. I feel like I spend 90% of my time meeting people, right? So do you have a view on this and how organizations are missing out on people?
Yeah, and I mentioned this a couple of times to so many recruiters, and which is why I love the world of entrepreneurship. And there's so many startups out there that's willing to break the boundaries. To actually the CEOs coming out to meeting the candidates. I think there was a joke that was posted on the LinkedIn say like if the CEO goes apply for the job that the company's put on the job board, they will not end up getting the job. So it's just you know, a funny way of looking at how this process can be long and tedious and not in the right place, but also in a way that if we look at it like this, like, can you imagine like 99% of the HRs, the departments that's just because they come from, I'm not saying, you know, a lot of good kudos and credits to the HR people, and they're really hardworking, but it's just the culture here in the large corporate in the business that leads to that results. Like, you know, like numbers of the applications that we've gone through, right? You can imagine, right? And they try to find one fitting job for the role. So the bosses can say, oh, yes, oh, I'm going to meet that. And then they also have to go, you know, organize with the hiring manager,
Mm,
how you actually present those resumes accordingly. It's
mhm,
just amount of work and can be actually speed up if
mm,
um one of the I don't know if going to be sick or going to be linking, a new disruptor can come up and saying, oh, look, this is a new solution on the market that can actually help you speed up and get the right person to the right door. Right, currently, look, I've gone through all the hiring tools. None of them actually does that. I mean, Glassdoor still give me, oh, you're a right fit for AZ. I'm like, no. This
mhm,
kind of you know, this is going to be changed with
mhm,
the help of
mhm,
AI, yeah.
mhm, mhm,
But
mhm,
it's just you know, finding the person fit for this role. It's kind
mhm,
of sits behind the mindset
mhm,
of the most of the HRs. What is like if you're the CEO, like you, a person like you would be like,
mhm,
okay, well, maybe that's intriguing. Well, maybe, you know, let's dig around a little bit. You've got the time, you've got the enthusiasm, right? But they don't.
mhm,
So that's a
mhm,
different, yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think that, we have the specialist projects division, and because I couldn't get, and again, many of my friends work in recruitment and or own recruitment companies, whatever. So we've got specialist projects, but to be able to say yes to everybody, we had to build our own recruitment company, right? And so my job is full time, obviously Thunder Labs and selling that, but it's actually on. It's the waiting room of talent for everything that we do on the consulting side of the business. And in the meantime, I help my customers access those. If I can't employ them, which I can't, we're only 25 people. If I can't, I'm like, well, you may as well hire Fan or whoever directly and give them a job. Like it blows my mind. I have to admit, I haven't worked out the economics behind it yet, Fan. I don't know. I mean, this is gut instinct that there's something in it, and investing the time in it. But there is, and I think you're right. I think AI can. I can imagine, quickly uh, being able to get to the point of why someone is good for a role, and you might not yet have considered. Like on paper, it's not obvious. And I think about people I've helped recently into something, and actually, and many of them are internationals. Funnily enough, there's no coincidence that I'm drawn to that. I mean, I probably sound Australian, but I'm English. Um, so I'm an immigrant, and
I can tell from the hair.
is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good. I don't know about what I'm doing with my hair at the moment, but that's the second time in 2 days it's come up about my hair. So obviously it's having some sort of impact. Um, the um, Yeah, so there really is something to this accessing of people and giving them a chance. And I feel like a number of people I've helped into something, and through us or directly, they're so left field that they wouldn't have made it through the first round of the binary, have you got or do you? And some of them I'm really proud of, man. I mean, I just cut another interview with one of my employees today, and he wouldn't make it through the round of some stuff. But he's incredible. It's an incredible, rich experience. Programming for 40 years, but as enthusiastic now as he was about it in
Wow.
1988. He's just a dude, and he looks like a dude as well. Like but I can see that organizations catering for his style and what's important to him. They miss out on so much richness, and I think that I don't have an answer, and I'm definitely not preaching here. I just want to be part of the solution somehow, you know, and hence where I'm making this time. So anyway, there's a much longer topic on there, Fan. I guess if anyone gets to this point, I'm saying, you know, maybe give those those ones look a little bit outside the norm a chance for the interview, right? And yeah, it might be surprising who you turn up. So coming back onto some of the things we talked about opportunities for Australia to do more with its data, to do more with its, you know, hopefully the assets it's owned or it's not had to spend as much money on to acquire the data set, which I acknowledge you just said, so it can then invest in people instead. What are the big opportunities for data leaders in Australia? Like, what do you see the differences are? Do you think?
I think one very significant impact that we can see is that having the world's just onto AI, like everybody's onto AI. I will say that AI is actually fast-tracked business realization towards data, because the
Yeah.
foundation of a good working AI model or business model built around AI is that you have to have this significant amount of good data and a really good data governance in
Mm,
order to achieve that. So I will say that it's definitely not a coincidence. You know,
mm,
the time is here. So those who are working on data, you know, don't be shy on saying yes. You know, we can be really good with AI as well, but don't forget there's a clear linkage between data and AI
mhm,
in order to success. Number
mm,
two is that the amount of competition out there is definitely going to bring down the costs in
mm,
terms of finding resources,
mm,
keep it maintaining it and keep it running,
mm,
and have a trials and errors out there, because those
mm,
companies that release those tools will definitely bring that cost down, because that's how they will compete
mhm,
in order for the business to adopt them. And
mhm,
number
mhm.
three is that if you are not on AI or data today, you've already lost. And I'm serious about that.
Mhm,
And we can come back, you know, in 10 years' time you know, come back to revisit to this quote today. For those
mhm,
businesses that's not onto AI and data, let's see how they go.
mhm, mhm, mhm. If they, let's assume they're not, um, um, you know, it may be hitting the radar of senior executives, you know, let's say CEOs or whatever, and it's on the radar of technologists and enthusiasts and everyone's heard of AI. You would think now. The reality of operational management and leadership in, you know, let's say you've got 100 or 200 or 300 or 1,000 staff that on their line of business isn't dependent on AI right now. Um, so if everyone else in the periphery, including leadership, is aware, but line management isn't aware, like you can imagine it doesn't get groundswell sponsorship. It doesn't get connected into the operational problems. It becomes a leadership idea or a technology idea, and not the idea of the operational leaders who are the ones that are really going to benefit from it. So I think you're probably right. You know that the organization thinking about it, but the reality is operational leaders don't find the time for it. You know, I think in our organization, I'll give you an example. Everybody uses AI in some form, as you'd expect. You know who doesn't? Me. You know, so you know, I find that I'm in people management and I'm in sales and I'm in, you know, building out. I mean, although I do have my engineers building case studies for me using AI,
Yeah.
and so we're maturing, so the experimentation is there. But as a key stakeholder, I need to be the one really experimenting with it, I think. Um,
Yeah,
so
but if you're using Adobe or Apple Siri, yeah, you're using AI, so yeah,
mhm, mhm. Well, I'm not,
don't feel
but
left
my
out.
team probably are.
Okay.
My team probably are. No, all our creative work is done in Canva. Um, man, Okay. So, if you think that there are industries that are going to be the most disrupted by data first and then AI, what do you think they are?
I think number one will be consulting.
Ha! Will be disrupted by AI.
Yes, that is definitely number one going to be there. I think creative works come last because I've actually tried a couple of case studies with a couple of the senior designers in my network, and there's no one-off solutions existing out there that can actually take them away from like being creative and making decisions. We still need them for that. And number two will be coding. Coding will be much more easier. I mean, the just 80% of the very easy early stage coding,
Mhm,
like if you're setting up websites, for example, that's gonna get replaced very soon.
mhm, mhm.
Um,
Why
almost
would
like
consulting be disrupted?
because this is what generative AI does. And I can actually do much better, save your time. Come on, if I actually train my model to mimic my voice, you can interview him like just without having me sitting here, and I can, get on to multiple interviews at the same time, and someone actually selling their profile I don't know where it was that, but it was a dating website or something, and to make 10 times the profit.
Mhm,
It's just that in consulting in terms of, for example, like immigration, lawsuits, it's also fall into that field.
mhm,
Auditing in particular, um,
mhm,
it just speed up the manual process of
mhm,
the work that related to understanding, subtracting, and summarizing.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
anything
I
to
got
do
it.
with this, yeah.
Okay, well, I've just got a notification that we've got 5 minutes to go, and it's a really good, nice segue then to say, you understand our world, you know that we're consulting. Thank you for the doomsday prophecy. And we're data engineering. It's really our core strength. What advice would you give to me and my business then to make sure we survive? I mean, assuming people in the business are already experimenting with AI, but what as a services business that has a methodology, which we do, what do you recommend for us to survive?
Um, Hold on to that. Number one is be open-minded.
Mhm,
AI data really bring down the walls of how much you can learn from all the teams and business, most of the smartest mind out there
mhm,
in the world. So
mhm,
just be humble, be open-minded to accept there are things out there that's better than us.
mhm, mhm,
We're
mhm,
really not getting the most out of it,
mhm,
and just be ready to try and error, be an entrepreneur.
mhm,
That
mhm,
actually that's to everybody, whether you're in
mhm,
C-suite, whether you're been coder for 40 years, just
mhm,
be
mhm,
entrepreneur, because
mhm,
this will ensure number one, be open-minded, can actually benefit from that. Once
mhm,
you share your experience, whether failure or success, you're getting return.
mhm, mhm,
And AI and data foundation is going to
mhm,
speed that up.
mhm, mhm. So I think that applies then at both an individual and an organizational level. And if I replay that, if the organization or the individuals within it are not entrepreneurial or open-minded, if they think they have a cash cow, then they're doomed.
Yes. They'll be like, oh yeah, let's not change that. It's working. It's okay. Let's run 4,000 test cases within like for 6 hours straight. It's okay. Don't touch that. Yeah, if whoever that's watching this and then have a big laugh, go back and change your workflow. You'll be amazed how much time you can save and how much energy, how much value you can get out of this.
I love it. I really love it. Thank you so much for your time. If there's anybody who watches this and then wants to reach out to you for a casual conversation, again, unfortunately for the world, you're off the market, but that's good. But if someone wanted to have a casual conversation about areas of interest, data governance, large data sets, getting established back in Melbourne after being away for years. I know you're a family man, but anything else that comes to mind that people could reach out to you and say hi about?
Yes, so you've pretty much covered it all, and I will say I'm probably I'm more strategic rather
Mhm,
than either side of business or technology. So
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
actually sitting in that three by the three legs. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, very good luck in your digital transformation management role. I hope it goes very well. Whichever business, and I know we're just sort of holding off on it, but whichever business it is, uh, it, I love the idea that you'd have the freedom and scope to build something that's game changing for them. And I think that's then would be an incredible first step. Now you're back in Australia, and I look forward to seeing how it all plays out.
Thank you, and it was my pleasure. It's been an honor to be interviewed by you, and
Thanks, dude.
time's just getting shorter.